What's going on, guys? Patrick here from PatrickOnRealty.com, and today we're going to go over 16 reasons why you may not want to move to Hawaii. So stick around to get all the details. Stay on the other side. All right, guys, so we're going to go over 16 reasons why you may not want to move to Hawaii. And a lot of you are probably thinking, why would I not want to move to Hawaii? It's absolutely gorgeous there. Well, I got 16 reasons that you may want to consider before making the big move. So let's jump into it. Number one, it's expensive. Now, I've made videos in the past. You can check out the link right here where I really break down the numbers of how much things cost out here, just so you can really grasp putting together a spreadsheet. But as you can see right here, living comfortably in Hawaii, you're mainly going to want to make about $122,000. Now, the average salary is about $60,000. So there's definitely people, it's really in the eye of the beholder of how much money you need to make to live comfortably out here and what you factor in is comfortable. But it is something you want to know that it is expensive to live out here. Salaries aren't astronomical. The average is about 60 grand. So you're going to either want to have a job when you get here or just kind of know how much everyone else is making to make it out here. Now, some of the things that are more expensive than in other places, well, which is pretty much everything, but one thing you're definitely gonna want to pay attention to is your energy bill. Electricity is really expensive out here. If you got solar, it definitely helps, and a lot of people are doing solar, but the average bill for electricity is about $116 a month. Now, honestly, that doesn't even sound like that much to me. I pay way more than that for my place, but I do have 3 units, so it does make sense, but it is expensive for electricity. Now, other utilities like trash and water are pretty standard, but electricity is usually the one that kind of hits you hard in the pocket. Now, being expensive, it's really, again, in the eye of the beholder. If you're moving from California or San Francisco, LA, New York, certain places that are already expensive, it's pretty comparable. But if you're moving from Texas or North or South Carolina or somewhere on the mainland that's not one of the big hubs of business and where things are just naturally expensive, it's gonna be kind of a big shock to you on the sticker price of living out here, prices of homes, gas, and things like that. So something you're definitely gonna want to keep in mind, that it is expensive out here. Number 2, gas prices. Now, piggybacking on things being expensive, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into gas prices. So if you got a gas guzzler, you're definitely going to want to pay attention to this. Now, Hawaii, as you can see here, is the second most expensive place to buy gas. California outranking us, but Hawaii is number 2. Now, of course, gas prices fluctuate, but you can expect to pay per gallon for standard gas out here in Hawaii about $4.30. Number 3, cost of housing. So furthermore on expenses, let's dive a little bit deeper into cost of housing. Now, if you're looking to purchase and own a home out here in Hawaii, shameless plug, I am a realtor, so I'd be happy to help you if you are looking. If you're looking to purchase a condo or a townhome, the median sales price for a condo or townhome out here in Oahu, Hawaii in 2021 is $500,000. And if you're looking to purchase a single family home, we actually just hit a new record of $1 million for a single family home. Now, that is the median, guys. So just keep in mind that you can find things lower and you definitely can find things higher, but that's the median sales price for a single family home and condo. Now, if you're looking to rent, really depends on how much house you're looking for, but let's just use one as an example. If you're looking for a 1-bedroom or a studio, let's say in Waikiki, you can probably expect for about 500 square feet, about $1,900. So that ain't cheap, but that's what you got to pay if you want to live in paradise. Number 4, island fever. Now, island fever is definitely a real thing out here. I don't really get it personally. I love being here. I'm a big proponent of the ocean and surfing and golfing. I love everything I can do around here. But if you're someone who really likes to do road trips or likes to just get out and drive somewhere far, that's not really an option here. You can drive around the entire island in a couple hours. Every single side of the island from wherever you are, the farthest is like an hour away. So mainly, general rule of thumb is 30 to 45 minutes to get to either side of the island. So long road trips are not really an option for you. But I once had a mentor tell me, once I was living out here, that if you look at the ocean as an extension and not a barrier, this place really opens up for you, right? So you can really enjoy the different diving, surfing, sailing, hiking. There's so many things you can do in the ocean as well as on land here. And if you see that as adventures that you can partake in and not think of just driving somewhere really far as part of the adventure, you won't really get island fever, but it really just depends on your perspective on life and living out here. Number 5, it's far away. So like I said in my last comment, we are in the middle of the ocean. Like, it's a trip. If you actually look at a globe and see where Hawaii is actually, it's literally ocean everywhere, and there's no piece of land large piece of land that's very close. So if you're very connected to your family and you need to see them, it's going to be a little difficult, and probably, you know, it's going to dig in your pocket if you're flying home or flying to the mainland to visit them. And most of the time, people say they'll come and visit you, but they very rarely do, because everyone gets stuck with business and work and family, and it's just hard to find time. But, you know, I do have some people that come out and visit, and it's nice to see them, but it really just something you want to keep in mind. It seems obvious, but you are very far away from the mainland. Number 6. Traffic. Now, the infamous traffic in Oahu. Now, I'll be the first to say that honestly, I don't find the traffic to be that bad. Being someone who spent a lot of time in Los Angeles where the traffic is horrendous, it's really not that bad in my eyes, and it's really only during certain rush hours, right? Everybody is either traveling to or from the hub, which is usually Honolulu. So you have people coming from the windward side or from the west side, Kapolei, Ewa, Makakilo, Mililani, coming to Honolulu in the morning and then going back home. So during those rush hours, you'll basically double what the normal amount of time is. If you're driving not during rush hours, let's say from Kailua to Honolulu, you're looking at about a 30-minute drive, 25-minute drive. And same thing from Kapolei to Honolulu. Not rush hours, about the same thing, about 30 minutes. But if you are doing it during the rush hour, whether it's 7:30 to 9:30 in the morning, going to town, or let's say 4 o'clock to about 5:30, 6 o'clock, back to the windward side or back to the Kapolei west side, you can expect about 50 minutes to an hour. So it is something that you want to keep in mind. If you're flexible enough and you have a job where you either work from home, that's great. You don't have to worry about that. Or you can set your own hours where you can just not go during rush hour. Then it's not really that big of a deal, but something to keep in mind. Number 7, Amazon deliveries. Now, if you are someone who is used to getting Amazon Prime and getting your stuff sometimes the same day or the next day, you ain't gonna get it here. Okay, we got an ocean that you got to come over, and Amazon Prime doesn't have the drones yet where they can drop it off. So just keep in mind, even if you have Amazon Prime, you're not going to get same day delivery. Now, there are some solutions of deliveries out here, like you've got your Grub Hubs and stuff like that for food. Also, pro tip, if you are looking to get groceries and you don't want to go all the way to Costco, they have Instacart, which I think is sweet, and I use it all the time, where you can order there and you'll get it same day delivery. But if you're looking for Amazon same day delivery Prime, ain't gonna happen. It's gonna take a couple days. So just something to keep in mind. Number 8, conforming to the culture. Now, if you're somebody who is set in your ways, let's say you're coming from LA or New York and you're fast paced and everything has to be done now, you ain't gonna do so well here. It's because everything here moves a lot slower and everybody just kind of cruises and chills. If you can get on that wavelength, then you are going to enjoy this place. But if you are not able to conform with the culture and the ways of how life is run out here, you're going to have some difficulty. And another thing to keep in mind is you definitely need to have respect for not only the land, but also the locals, because this place has a rich history that I highly suggest you look into, of lots of people just coming in and take and take and take. And so there may be some blowback from local communities if you come in with that same mentality of, I'm just here for a couple of years, I'm going to take what I want and just leave my trash everywhere and not really respect anyone. I'm in my own bubble. You need to understand that there's a lot of good energy and aloha here, and you want to be a part of it, not be outside of it. So just slow down, enjoy the fresh air. The local community is amazing if you can be a part of it, opposed to being an outsider. So just keep that in mind, that it's really important that if you do move out here, if you can conform to the culture and understanding and respecting the locals and the land, you're absolutely going to love it. If you don't, it's going to be a rough ride. Number 9, hot weather. Now, I'm not someone who really likes seasons or cold weather, so I absolutely love it out here. But on average, you can expect the weather to be between 75 and 95 degrees pretty much every day. Sometimes we have rain comes in, rains for a little bit, and then a rainbow shows up, which is absolutely amazing. But it's pretty hot pretty much every day. And one thing you want to keep in mind is different parts of the island have different types of hotness. So if you're in the Kapolei, Makakilo, west side area, it's a little bit drier. If you come over to the windward side, it's a little bit windier. You go a little bit inside of Mililani, where there's lots of mountains and a culmination of all the clouds coming in. It's a little bit wetter and a little bit moist. So you have all these little micro, basically weather systems. But it's just something to keep in mind, that it is hot and you will be sweating if you don't wear the right attire. Number 10. COVID rules. Now, everybody has their personal COVID preferences and ideological ideas when it comes to the rules and regulations. So I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole, but I'm going to briefly go over what the rules and regulations are out here in Oahu, or in the state of Hawaii. Now, you can check out this video. I actually made a video back in the day that actually kind of went viral, that went over some of the stupid rules they put in place, which was my opinion, and I was kind of making a comedic twist on it. Check that out if you like. But here are the general rules as of now in 2021. If you want to travel here, here, you are going to want to get vaccinated, or you're going to need a COVID negative test within 48 hours of you taking that test and you getting on the plane if you want to fly here. That same rule applies if you want to go to any restaurant or any events. You will need to prove either a negative test within 48 hours of that event or that restaurant that you went to, or you need to show your vaccine card and ID showing that you have been vaccinated if you want to simply eat in a restaurant. And that can really change if you are a very strong proponent on not getting vaccinated. That can really ruffle some feathers, because it's like you can't even eat at a restaurant. You can get takeout, but you can't sit in. Another thing is you need to have masks basically on when you're indoors or at the gym. So just something you need to keep in mind. And lastly, if you are outdoors and at the beach, you don't have to wear a mask. But if you are in a group, you can't be in a group outdoors more than 25 people. Now, I could poke holes in all these rules all freaking day. I'm not going to waste your time. Feel free to check out that video where I make fun of it. And I'm sure you have your opinions. Put them in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear them. But it is what it is. It's kind of a liberal state, so you just got to kind of roll with it and just take in the beauty. Number 11, education system. Now, Hawaii is a beautiful place, but I will say that the education system isn't the best. It's not the worst, but it isn't the best. Now, I will allow you to do your own due diligence, and you can go to greatschools.org and you can kind of see the rankings. Now, some of the best schools on this island, and actually some of the best schools on all the islands, are actually located in Mililani. A lot of people will put their kids in public schools, great public schools in Mililani, but if you want to get the best schooling or education for your kids, obviously private is the way to go, but it costs a lot of money. So just something to keep in mind. But of course, do your own due diligence on checking on greatschools.org to see what schools would be in the areas you might be interested in and seeing what the rankings are. Number 12, it can be crowded. So yes, we again are on a rock. We're on an island. There isn't a lot of space. And our main basic import is tourism. So we get tons of tourists that come here. It was quite peaceful when we had COVID and there wasn't anybody here, but COVID has basically been released to a certain extent. They're allowing travelers to come, and it has gotten super crowded, specifically in Waikiki. That's basically where you'll find 60% of the people who come and travel to Oahu are going to be in Waikiki. So that's where it's going to be the most busy, but there are places that are not as crazy and busy. You can go to the country, North Shore. It'll still have some people there. Won't be as crazy as Waikiki, but it's just something to keep in mind. It's not complete jungle out here. You can go to the different islands like the Big Island or Kauai, where you can get a little bit more lush, a little bit more space, and not feel like it's so crowded. But because this is one of the most populated and popular islands, we do get a lot of crowded vibes from all the tourism and just lots of people being here. So just something to keep in mind. Number 13 is employment. Now, employment out here can be difficult. And once again, it's usually who you know, not what you know. But there are a couple things we're going to want to go over when it comes to employment out here in Hawaii. So the first thing you want to understand is the Hawaii's unemployment rate stands at 7.7% compared to the 5.9% nationwide average. So we do have more unemployment than the nationwide. It's not a huge gap, but it's enough for something you definitely want to keep in mind, that there aren't just handing jobs left and right out. There is a lot of unemployment compared to the nationwide average. Another thing to consider is the average salary. So like I mentioned before, it's about $66,000 a year is the average salary out here, which is about $32 an hour. So just something to keep in mind when you're kind of factoring in, okay, I don't have a job yet. I need to get a job. I wonder how much I can get paid. And I wonder how much my costs are going to be when you're running your spreadsheet. So just keep that in mind. And lastly, if you are wondering what are most of the jobs that are being offered out here? Well, most of it is obviously in tourism. A lot of it is in physicians, doctors, dentists, things like that. And then also in construction. So if you're in any of those three fields, you probably will have a pretty good chance of finding a job out here, but it really just comes down to making some calls, making some connections, and also just getting down here and getting in front of people, because a lot of people make the dream situation, call people and say, hey, I want a job. And they go, well, are you here? And you're not. They're not going to take you that seriously. So just something to keep in mind. Number 14, no big sports teams. Now, if you are a big sports fan and you want and have to see live sports, well, you ain't going to find it here. All we got is pretty much surfing, which is amazing to see in December when they have it on the North Shore, and polo, and then basically your local sports. But we don't have any big teams. We have the football team. They're actually, I believe, building a new stadium, which should be pretty sweet whenever that gets done. But that's basically the only professional sports team you could see. We don't really have a professional team. We basically have the college team, and football is basically the closest we can get to it. So if you're a big fan of live sports events, not going to find anything out here. Number 15, no seasons. So like I mentioned before, 75 to 95 degrees is basically what you get out here. It doesn't get cold. It'll get a little windy. Once you start living here for a while, you actually find yourself wearing a sweater because you get so used to the weather, but we don't have seasons. So if you are someone who needs to see the changing of the seasons, snow, winter, all of that stuff, you ain't going to find it here. So just keep that in mind. Number 16, homelessness. Now, again, we are on a rock. So unfortunately, a lot of people who are homeless, and out here in Hawaii, we don't like to say that they're homeless. We just like to say that they're houseless because Hawaii is their home. But Hawaii does have a lot of homeless. I will say, but personally, like I've seen homeless in New York and LA, and it seems a little sketchy. But some of the homeless people out here, they're actually really nice. I mean, they're just, you know, a lot of them are just people that were out on their luck, especially with COVID happening. We definitely saw an increase in that. You know, sometimes drugs can be a big proponent of why we have homelessness, and they get kind of in this vicious cycle. And there's just no system to really help the homeless. I have actually a friend who's putting together tiny homes, but there's only so much that you can do. And it's an ongoing process, and I'm just not smart enough to solve that or give you a solution, but it is something you want to be aware of. And just to give you an idea of like how much homelessness we have here, we are second to New York. So just to give you a number attached to that, basically 45 out of every 10,000 people are homeless. And to give you, you know, kind of a benchmark from that, the nation average is about 17 to every 10,000. So a little bit more than double the amount of homelessness than the nation average. So it is something you want to keep in mind. All right, guys, that was a lot of things of why you may not want to move to Hawaii. But I'll be the first to tell you that I've been living here for a very long time. I absolutely love it. I will never leave this place. And those 16 reasons honestly don't bother me that much. I'm pretty good at finding the cup half full mentality of figuring out, well, what's the nice part of that may not want to move reason. But it's just something you want to be aware of. So if you guys have any questions or any comments, put them in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And if you guys could do me a huge favor, if you got any value out of this content, smash that like button as well as click the subscribe and notification bell so you can get notified whenever I drop videos just like this. And I would love to hear from you. So feel free to DM me or contact me directly. I've got my contact information right here. And I hope you guys have a beautiful day. I'll talk to you soon. Aloha.